Investigations in Ritual Abuse presents an introduction to David Lee Hamblin, Part 2, where we examine the sexual abuse allegations against David Lee Hamblin and his alleged fellow members of the LDS Church of Satan. Like, follow, and share our content to get the word out about one of Utah's most notorious alleged sexual predators, David Lee Hamblin, and his group, the LDS Church of Satan. On January 20, 2012, Sergeant Dan Dove of the Provo Police met with Catherine and Weston Baxter in a soft interview room at the Provo Police Department. The story that Kate Baxter told was staggering. She alleged that her father, David Lee Hamblin, had sexually abused her from her earliest childhood until she was 13 years old. Her earliest memory of abuse was in New York State, where her parents were living at 77 Terrain Avenue in Port Chester, New York. She was not even a year old.
I just remember looking out of my crib and seeing David's body standing in front of it. He wasn't wearing any pants, just the top of his LDS garment. David lowered the side of my crib and took me on his bed. It was daytime because the room was filled with natural light. The next thing David did was put his penis in my mouth. It was a horrible taste, and he kept putting it in my mouth and made me choke and cough. Later, I learned the horrible smell and taste was semen because as David continued to abuse me, he would often verbalize what he was doing and would often tell me to suck out the semen or lick up the semen.
Kate Baxter continued recounting her abuse, detailing the fear her father's abuse instilled in her, a fear which made her scared to go to the bathroom at night.
I was often scared to go to the bathroom at night. I knew if Dave heard me get up, he would come hurt me. I usually just tried to hold it until the morning if I could, and if I couldn't, I would be sure to not even flush or turn on the sink to wash my hands, just to be safe. This was hard for me because I have always liked being clean and I've been somewhat germophobic, but obviously the alternative was much worse, so I did it anyway. During a school night while I was in kindergarten, I woke up needing to go to the bathroom really badly, and after holding it for about half an hour, I finally got up and tiptoed to the bathroom. The basement was very cold because it was winter outside, and so it made me shiver. After I wiped, I realized I had got some pee on my hand, and I wanted to wash my hand really badly. I went to the sink and kept looking behind me. I turned the knob for cold water, just a tiny bit, to get some water dripping out. I commenced washing my hands when I heard someone walking up behind me. David grabbed me, and I shook. I was so scared and cold, and he grabbed my wet hands with one of his and pulled down his bottom garments, revealing himself. He forced my hands on top of his penis and violently rubbed back and forth in my hands, with his hands clenching the outside of mine. I was quietly crying and tense all over as he shook me back and forth, because he was making me rub him so fast and hard. He hurt my hands, and he continued to squeeze them tighter and tighter. I was so grossed out, I wanted to throw up. He continued until he started breathing more and more heavily, and then he ejaculated in my face and tried to force open my mouth with his hand. I kept clenching my lips and turning my head away, and it got on the floor. He kept saying, "Open your mouth, Katie," and I wouldn't. He had finished ejaculating, and it had gotten all over my Care Bear nightgown, and my face as well as the ground. He commanded me to lick his semen off the floor. I shook my head, too afraid to look at him. He said it one more time. I responded the same way. I was angry. He clenched my arms and made fists, hurting me, and said, "If you don't do it, I will go beat up your sister right now." He started walking to their room, the west bedroom in the basement, and I said, "Okay." I got on the floor and started licking up the semen. I was crying very hard and started to dry heave. He watched as I did it and wiped off my face and the floor with the nightgown. Then he put the nightgown in the sink, flushed the toilet, and turned on the hot water. He told me to go to bed. I ran way into the bedroom and cried for what seemed to be a long time. I was disgusted with the taste in my mouth. I kept spitting into a tissue I had gotten from the side of my bed. The taste of semen and the smell of semen was so thick I couldn't sleep. As soon as it got light outside, about 3 hours later, I ran to the shower and showered off.
This has been a presentation of Investigations in Ritual Abuse. introducing one of Utah's most notorious alleged sexual predators, David Lee Hamblin, who has no fewer than 5 accusers. His daughters Rachel, Eliza, and Catherine, and their former neighbor in Provo, Utah, Emily Sheets, as well as his former 5-year-old therapy patient, Tobias Schroeder. Hamblin admitted to having sex with his patients as a clinical psychologist, and the Utah Division of Occupational and Professional Licensing stripped him of his license to practice. We are a reader and viewer-supported publication, so like, share, and follow for more content. You can subscribe to Investigations in Ritual Abuse on Substack or donate at investigationsinritualabuse.com as we continue to expose the scourge of ritual abuse in Utah and elsewhere. Also, on investigationsinritualabuse.com, you can see all of the police reports and videos we procured from the various criminal investigations and prosecutions of David Lee Hamblin. Remember, all sexual abuse is satanic. Thanks for watching.